If you're into the truck scene or you're trying to get into it, you probably know that square body Chevys are really expensive and sought after these days, and a lot of that has to do with the truck that's sitting right behind me. So if you don't know, the truck behind me is a 1974 Chevy C10 with the Cheyenne Super trim level, which was the highest you could get at the time when these trucks were built in the 70s. And this one is also known as SS01, which stands for Syndicate Series 01 because it was built by my buddy Joe Yezzi at Squarebody Syndicate. And at the time, these trucks were not as common. And when this one came out, it became a legend. It became an icon in the scene because everybody was kind of like shaving trucks and doing stuff like that, doing body mods and things like that. And when this came out, nobody was doing trim and keeping the original style and doing stuff like that. But I will tell you, it's not the first. I think my buddy Corey Scott from Custom Works had the first one. He had an 85 Chevy C10, and he bought that truck and it had all the trim on it. He decided to bag it. And like I said, people were shaving these trucks, and he decided not to. He said, oh man, this thing looked great. I'm gonna keep it as is. And yeah, and this goes back a few eras. That was around 2005. So it was quite a bit ago. And there's been different eras of enthusiasts, so it's kind of gotten lost in time a little bit. But he has redone it, and the photos he showed me of it looks pretty good. He just recently did it, so I'll probably be shooting that one as well. Well, back in 2010, Delmo, or Delmo Speed and Custom, was getting really popular with getting old C10s, keeping the original style, the trim, everything on them, not shaving them or anything, and slamming them, putting LS engines on them. And when Joe saw that, he decided he was going to do the same with the square body, so he built this truck. Little did he know that it would start a revolution with these trucks that would be really popular, and doing that with square body pickups. So like I said, I think this truck is actually an icon, and really it raised the bar in a couple different ways for how custom it is and also how much these trucks are worth. Now, I think a year or two after he had it, showed it off and everything, he sold it for 6 digits, and that hadn't been done before with a square body pickup before. So he told me recently that basically Haggerty, the insurance company, even had a call with him to assess everything because they had to up their rates and everything because now that they knew that these trucks were worth a lot more. So let's dig into this one a little bit. Well, let's get into some of the details that make this truck so iconic, and let's start up front. So basically we have an LS3 engine up here, and so it's a modern engine, all that. It looks like a small block, like an old school engine. And what helps it do that is basically, this is done in the Delmo style, where an intake gets added to it. So that's a Holley intake, and it kind of resembles something you would find on a small block. Yes, it does have the fuel rails here, and in an old small block, you would just have a hose that would come out to the carburetor or whatnot. So there is a throttle body in here. It's got the air cleaner on top. The housing was made, I think it's a billet aluminum one as well. And then they adapted a set of small block valve covers to this thing. They were modified a little bit. And yeah, that really gives it kind of the look. And also Drive Junkie did the front accessory drive. That's been tucked up, down low. So really you just see the engine itself. And you know, kind of going back old school times, that's what you would see. You would just see, you know, open up the hood, you would see an engine. You wouldn't see a whole bunch of stuff, hoses, wires, all that stuff. So it's been really cleaned up in here. You can also notice that the fender flares here, or the inner fenders, are modified. I think they're original. If they're not, they're repop, but they are steel. And I think Nick Hubcaps, he was the one that customized those so that they were higher, so that the wheels can tuck in and all that stuff. So we got a lot of clearance for all of that. If we go over here, we notice that we have a bare master cylinder for the brakes. They're classic performance products brakes that thing is controlling. Also, while we're down here, we can kind of see the Porterbuilt suspension that's here. So what they did is they took the original frame and then they did a whole front cross member, new arms, all that stuff. It's got airbags on this thing. So that's what gets it to tuck low. And that's controlled by an AccuAir system. So that was getting pretty popular at the time when this truck was built. And yeah, just looks great under this hood. All right, moving out to the back, you can see that the bed floor was raised. The inner fenders were modified as well, and that floor was cut out so that it opens up like this, and it's really trick. I think it's one of my favorite parts of this truck is that that center section opens, and when it's closed, you can't even tell that it really, or barely tell that it opens at all. It was done so finely. Eye Candy painted this truck, and I talked to Frank over there, the owner, about it, and he said that he created a special block to sand it when he was doing the body work for it. So like I said, it's done really well and it is super smooth. But anyways, let's dig in a little bit down here and check out some of the works here. So like I said, it's a factory frame, but we got the Porterbuilt suspension system in here, and it was I think prototyped with the Watts link. So this was the first one to have that, and I think it's worked out everything like that. It's got airbags too, so it has some nice ride, goes up and all of that. We can see the custom exhaust here that's got MagnaFlow mufflers on there, so it sounds pretty good too as well. And here we got the air management system. We got an AccuAir system right here, and basically what that does is you press a button on the inside, it goes up to a certain height, you have programmed all that stuff. That tank is the reserve for all the air to lift the truck up. And here we've got the compressors here. We've got 2 Viair compressors. So it's pretty quick. It fills up with air. It's like a 5-gallon tank. So yeah, you don't want to be waiting around to get your ride up if there's some like danger on the road or something like that. But yeah, really good back here. Like I said, one of my favorite parts of this truck. All right, so we saw all the suspension on this thing. We know the square body is airbagged, and to get the most out of that look, to make it more dramatic, they added some larger wheels, some 22-inch wheels on this thing. And if you have a closer look at it, you might think that it has white walls on it, but it doesn't. These are actual Nitto Invo tires right here, and they end right here. So this is kind of where the bead is right there. And basically this white wall is a part of the wheel. And this wheel was made by Delmos, and basically what he did was he took the design of a CST trim level C10, he took the hubcap design and enlarged it, made it into a 22-inch billet wheel. And it's one of those things that really makes this truck stand out, and what really makes it so cool. Like I said before, this truck is a Cheyenne Super, and that means that on the inside it had this wood grain that you wouldn't see on any other models. So that carries out through the interior, which has been left mostly stock. And that's the point of this truck, is to keep it with the factory look, you know, just with some modern amenities, some modern things like the engine, the chassis, all that stuff. We also got right here, Squarebody started having their own Dakota digital gauges. So those are newer, they're modern. I believe it's got the odometer readings and some other stuff on there too as well. Also, it has a new AC system on there. So, and then right there, we've got the AccuAir control system. And right there, you press a button and it raises the truck up, all that stuff, so you can drive it and everything. All right, if we back up a little bit, we can see that this has a modern I Did It steering column that works pretty well. It's nice and new. This is also a billet steering wheel made by GSI. This is not a reproduction. It's full billet. It's a little bit smaller. It's easier to handle. And it's one of those details that makes this truck so unique. If we look at the seats, they're bucket seats, something you would see in this truck normally, but they've been reupholstered. We've got some NOS inserts in here. Basically what that is, it's new old stock, which means it's material that was made a few years ago, or quite a few years ago, and it was never used. People found it and they upholstered the seats in them. And so as you can see, nothing too fancy, but some modern stuff in there to make it drive really easy to meet our standards these days. And another great thing about this truck. So topping off all the mods, this thing was painted with the original two-tone look, so that's Catalina blue on top of white. And like I said, that was done by Frank over at Eye Candy, and everything was left pretty stock on this thing. There's a couple little mods on it, so let's take a look at that. I would say for the starters, the front bumper has the license plate holes removed, so that's a lot of work. You got to grind those and weld them up, make them smooth, replate the bumper. A lot to be done there just for some little tiny mod. We see all the lights, the corner lights, the markers, and then we come over here where we would generally see where it would have an emblem from the factory. Now it says Syndicate Series 01, naming the truck, so there's no mistaking that. And just, yeah, look at that Catalina blue, and just, that thing is just gorgeous. The paint work is done so meticulously. Like I said with the bed, how, you know, it's just flawless how they did all the paint work on it, the body work, the prep work they had to do beforehand to get this thing ready. And yeah, this thing is flawless. So like I said, I think this truck is a legend. And sealing the deal on that, Joe had these miniatures made by M2. They were available in stores. And this 164 version here was in Walmart, but I never saw these. I looked and they were nowhere to be found. I bought this one off eBay for 50 bucks. Some of these trucks go for $2,000 online. That's how in demand this truck is and how much people like it. So yeah, we've got the bigger model here that came out this year and a signed one by Joe. And just one of those things that immortalizes this truck. There could be a kid that has this truck. He's playing with it, he's dreaming of it, and to know that it's based off of this real truck, that's absolutely amazing to me, and just kind of proves how much in demand this truck is and how much people want to be tied to it. So like I said earlier, this truck was sold. Joe no longer owns it, and that's one of the things that makes this truck so iconic, is that it was the first square body Chevy to be sold for over 6 digits. And yeah, so I've got the new owner here. I've got Preston Woolery. You and your brother Rick, you own this truck, right?
Yes.
And how did you get it?
This one, you know, sold to Barrett Jackson a few years before we bought 002, and it sold on the showroom. I don't think it sold through the auction, and we missed it. And then we bought 02 a couple years after that at Barrett at the auction, and we wanted to find 01 and who bought it, so we got a hold of Joe Yezzi with Squarebody Syndicate. He gave us the number, and we got a hold of the customer in Colorado, tried to buy it, he turned us down, and then we ended up calling him a couple years later because we were getting ready for Dino's, and I told my brother, wouldn't it be cool to have 01 and 02 back together again as a group, and he said he called him up on the phone, and the guy accepted the offer that we offered, and we sent a truck to get it, and we had both trucks at Dino's that year.
That's pretty cool. And I didn't mention, but anyways, why Joe sold this truck was basically he found a Indy hauler from the 70s, another square body truck. It was actually a GMC, and the truck was kind of rusted out. It was kind of cool as a history piece, and knowing Joe, he wanted to modify it, but then he was like, you know what? He wanted to leave it in the state it was and didn't want to do anything to it, so he ended up selling this truck, funding a build which is called SSO2, so it's an Indy hauler, and it's really unique itself. It's got everything thrown at it. It's got a supercharged engine. It's got one-off wheels that resemble old turbine wheels, or turbine wheels, sorry. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's its own thing as well. But this is the truck that started it all. So Preston, can we go for a ride and see how this thing does?
Yeah, you bet. Let's go.
All right, let's check it out. Wow, I'm super stoked to be inside this truck. Like I said, it's just a really famous truck, and yeah, it's just an honor to be in here, man. Thanks for taking me for a ride. I want to know a little bit more. You guys own a boat place, Horizon Motorsports and Marine, and yeah, so how did you guys have interest in the truck?
Well, it always goes way back to the days. We had a salvage yard in Colorado, my old man had, so always had square bodies around. There's, you know, pickups and cars, so I mean, I've been collecting cars for probably 25 years, probably.
Oh, gotcha.
Got a pretty good collection, but square bodies is our love, you know. We love to collect them, and got quite a few of them.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm thankful that we have AC in this truck. We're in Lake Havasu City in Arizona, and it's like almost 100 degrees out here. It's pretty hot. In fact, my camera almost melted down already, so I had to drop it in a cooler just so that we could film again. So yeah, but I have to say, this road is a little bumpy, and the ride is nice and smooth.
Yeah, this truck drives amazing. I love driving this truck. Got a lot of power for LS, and air conditioner blows cold, and it rides good.
So I've seen this truck. You guys have brought it out to Dino's Get Down and all that, which is the mecca for anything custom classic Chevy truck. Do you guys drive it a lot?
I drive it a little bit. I don't drive it like I should.
Yeah.
I mean, it only has 1,462 miles on it since Joe built the truck, but we drive it. I drive it 6-7 times a year. I don't do a lot of shows. Dino's is, of course, the mecca of the show industry, with, you know, like 9,000 trucks every year or whatever shows up. But that's what we enjoy to go to, and like to do a few more shows. But as you guys know, it's been a busy years, last 4 or 5 years, so I haven't been able to get away like I like to. But we're hoping to build a trailer soon where we can put all the trucks in a trailer and go to a few more shows across the U.S.
Gotcha. Well, and I can understand not taking this truck out so much. We're driving it out, and it's great. Maybe keep it local, you know, maybe go for a cruise sometime on the weekend or something like that. But honestly, I think this truck it could be a museum piece one day. It could be in some museum where, you know, you don't want it to be messed with. I mean, yeah, you can repaint it and stuff like that, but that's a pain. The paint job's probably worth a lot of money, maybe $50,000, $80,000, something like that just for paint. But I think that also goes to show the paint and why this truck is so highly regarded is that it doesn't have any crazy graphics, anything like that, which means it's not going to get outdated. A lot of that stuff will with time. And this thing is just, it's got the classic style. It's never going to go out of style. Hey, Preston, got to thank you for taking me for a ride along. It's super cool to see this truck up close. Well, that just about does it for this video, and we thank you for watching it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future video, and we will catch you next time.